What's going on, folks? It's Rick here, and I'm back with another video, and we're here to discuss what's going on in tech this week. I know it's been a while since I made one of these videos. I do apologize about that. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to discuss was Motorola and the Moto Z2 Play. All right, right here in the background, you're seeing a picture of the Moto Z2 Play, and to be honest with you, I was a little bit disappointed. I kind of like the design, even though the design looks fairly similar to the Moto Z Play, the original one. They exchanged the glass back for a steel back, which is definitely a good thing. But from an aesthetic standpoint, it looks fairly similar. I was going to pick up this device, but there's a couple of things that deterred me from doing so. So one, with the Oneplus 5 coming out, and its base price being $479. Basically, you can get a top of the line, top spec'd out phone, Snapdragon 835 processor, the whole 9 yards in the Oneplus, and Motorola is asking for the same price, $499, which is a little bit more expensive. If you go for the 128 gig model, which is about, I think, like $529 or $539. So for a $20 difference, you could get a phone fully spec'd out, 128 gigs of memory, just a completely spec beast, a serious contender for a flagship killer for the same price as the Moto Z. So realistically, the Moto Z2 Play, couple problems. They did this last year, and they're doing it again. Verizon exclusive. Now, I can't stand carriers that do phone exclusives and then everyone else has got to wait for a couple months for the unlocked version. If you want to do an exclusive, do your exclusive with that carrier and then just sell an unlocked version at the same exact time. There really is no benefit for having an exclusive like that. It just pisses people off. No one's going to switch carriers just to go to Verizon to get the Moto Z2 Play. In addition, the Moto Z2 Play has Snapdragon's lower end processor. It was the 626. Turbocharging is an issue on this. It does not have an upgraded turbocharger, so you will have to wait 2 hours for your battery to completely charge up. And you know, for last year that was fine, 2 hours or even an hour and 45 minutes. But this year with Qualcomm fast charging 3.0 and above, you know what I mean, people are charging their phones in less than an hour and a half. So 2 hours is a bit lengthy. In addition to battery, now that we're on the topic of battery life on this went from a 3520 milliamp battery to a 3000 milliamp battery. So they reduced the battery size on it. Okay, it's got a slow processor, reduction in battery size, and the same price as last year, and more expensive than the base model of the OnePlus 5, which is just blows it out of the water. Are the Moto mods cool? Of course they're cool. I like the fact that you could just slap it on. I love it, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to pick up the phone. But being that there's other phones out there at the same price point that could just blow this phone out of the water, I really can't pull the trigger on this phone. So speaking of OnePlus, let's go right to it. Okay, now I don't want this whole video to be a complete, negative bashing of what's going on in tech, but I have to give you my honest opinion, and this is just my opinion. Take it for a grain of salt and do what you will. But the OnePlus 5. So now I was really excited about this phone coming out. The processor, the 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is insane. I love it. The dual sensor, the dual lens camera on the back, amazing. Here are some of my gripes, okay? One, it's no longer that flagship killer in the sense where, you could get flagship specs for half the price. It's still cheap, $539 for the 128 gig variant. It's still very cheap, but you're getting away. They started out at $299, then 3 and change, and then 4, and now it's 4 and change, almost 500 for the base model, to $529 or $539 for the model that most people will go for. And the reason most people will go for the most expensive model is because there is no micro SD expandability. That brings me to my second gripe with the OnePlus 5. No micro SD expandability. Now, if you're gonna get the variant with 128 gigs, I really don't think that's gonna be an issue for anybody. But hey, everyone likes the ability to expand their memory if they want to. What if you do make it to 128 gigs and you want to expand it? That was a big flaw for me. No micro SD expandability. The price is starting to creep up and get more expensive, even though this would be the cheapest phone out there on the market with the specs that they have. So it's still cheaper than a lot of the flagships, but it's starting to get closer and closer to those flagship price points. No micro SD expandability. Price. The camera on the back does not have optical image stabilization. It just has digital stabilization, and there's been a lot of issues with a lot of shakiness in recording videos and things of that nature. There's a lot of YouTubers out there with clips, so if you want to check that out, go ahead and do so. But yeah, there was like too many things there, too many things that I didn't like about the phone. There's that camera with the dual lens there. They're trying to mimic the iPhone, I think, in a lot of ways. And that brings me to my final point and the elephant in the room. Okay, does anybody else but me notice that this looks exactly like an iPhone? And for me, one of the biggest things about a phone, or the first thing I look for in a phone, other than specs and everything of that nature, is gonna be aesthetics, okay? So if you take a phone that looks identical to your sister company Oppo, which is, I think, the R9 they have out, looks virtually identical. And then you take that identical phone and you clone it after an iPhone. Now, you know, you may have the iPhone people that may consider going over to Android because the phone looks just like an iPhone. But for those Android enthusiasts, I don't think that they want a phone that looks like an iPhone, because if they did, they would have just purchased an iPhone. I think aesthetically this phone is really ugly, just for the fact they just copied iPhone, they copied Oppo, and that was like the big major thing for me. I try to look past that, but then again, no optical image stabilization, no micro SD expandability. The price is starting to creep up. If you want to go for the 128 gig variant, you are going to have to shell out about $529. And once you start getting into that $600 price point, you're no longer that mid-range, you know, price point with flagship specs, which would make OnePlus its logo, the flagship killer. Once you're starting to charge prices around flagship prices, you're no longer the flagship killer. Guys, leave some comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinion. Let me know if you completely disagree with me and you think I'm an idiot. Go right ahead, leave it in the comment section. Not like I care. Anyway, all right. Next thing in the news, okay? So now, again, you're talking about phones with flagship specs that you can get at a cheap price point. If you're considering the OnePlus 5, this is a really good phone to consider. Now, we already discussed the LG G6. I did do an unboxing video and my full review in regards to that. I'll leave a link in the description where you could check that out. Currently, there's a trusted seller, US seller, on eBay selling brand new LG G6 unlocked dual SIM G6s for $409. They did have the white and black variants, which I believe are sold out. So right now you can only grab the silver variant. But if you're in the market for a phone with an amazing camera, I still think this is the best dual camera setup on the market right now. Way better than the OnePlus 5 dual camera setup. The wide angle lens is amazing. Again, check out my videos to see some samples in regards to that. But this phone at this price point is an insane bargain and a steal. Granted, it has a Snapdragon 821. But the Snapdragon 821 is a very capable processor. It's going to get you through all your gaming needs and everything you need. You have micro SD expandability. This is the international variant, so you're going to have all those fun things like the B&O headphones. You're going to have the wireless charging, and you know, and you're going to have expandable memory on top of this 64 gig variant. I was looking for this phone. If I would have found the white one, I would have picked it up. There are a few other sellers that are selling different variants of the same phone, just slightly more expensive, between $450 to $479. So if you want to pull the trigger on that, you can go ahead and do so. I think with the LG G6 Pro coming out shortly, they're really trying to get rid of all these models of the G6 because there really isn't doing that well. But compared to the G5, I'm gonna have to say this phone is a world of difference. It has that bigger aspect ratio on the screen. It has water resistance on it. It's just an amazing all-around phone. I really loved it, but I have to admit the S8 is a better phone, and that's why I eventually returned this phone to get the S8, because just like you guys, I'm not a big YouTuber. I just can't afford to purchase phone after phone, so I had to make a decision, and I went with the S8 as opposed to the G6. But the G6 is an amazing phone, especially at a $400 price point. That's a bargain. Okay, let's see what else is in the news today. Okay, so effective July 6th, which is past tense, today is July 8th, T-Mobile will increase their price for the T-Mobile Oneplus pricing. They'll raise it from $5 to $10 a month effective July 6th. I think that's a bad deal for T-Mobile. Part of T-Mobile's allure in the industry was they were one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, for unlimited plans. They set their throttling cap from, I think, from 28 to 32. I think now it's at 36. So it's an amazing deal. Their whole unlimited plans. But now Verizon is going to be cheaper than T-Mobile, and I don't see why T-Mobile would go ahead and do something like that. But again, that's just the deal. Let's see if anything changes in regards to that. Let's see what else is going on today. Alright, guys, come on, baby. There's some rumors out there about the Samsung S8 Active coming out. Some specs and release dates coming up shortly. Let's see what else. Oh, look at this. Samsung blocks Bixby remapping app for T-Mobile S8 and S8 Plus. I actually do have a remapping app for my S8 on T-Mobile, and it works fine for me. I'll leave a link in the description below in regards to that. Some more Motorola news. On July 25th, they're going to be doing some announcements. Some people think this is the, I think the G5 Plus or something like that, and the Moto X edition. I was a real big fan of the past Moto X, so I'm really intrigued to see what the new Moto X will look like. There have been some leaked images. It kind of looks just like every other Motorola phone, with the exception of having a completely steel chassis. And I'm not sure if the Moto X will use the Moto mods as well, even though it does have that circular camera hump, so I'm optimistic that it will. Alright guys, I think that's about it. Oh, another deal alert, you can get an LG G5 on sale for $225 on eBay, which is a crazy price, but if that was me, I would go for the G6 for $400. It's just a way better deal. Boom, like I said, LG G6 international version now costs $410 from a trusted seller on eBay. Okay, unlocked variants of the Moto Z2 and Moto Z2 Play is available on Amazon unofficially, but they're asking for $100 more than the original asking price of $499. For that, you just wait for the phone to come out and just pay $499 if that's the phone that you want to purchase. Alright guys, and I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, any comments, leave it in the comment section below. This is Rick. That was my video. Please leave a thumbs up and please subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.